The sound that woke me wasn't loud. It was a soft click. The sound of a bedroom door, not quite latching shut. I kept my eyes closed, my breathing even. My husband, David, was a heavy sleeper, a warm weight beside me. But I was wide awake. I could feel it, the feeling of being watched. When I finally opened my eyes, he was there, a silhouette in the dim light from the hallway, my stepson, Liam. He was just standing in the doorway, holding a small dark box in his hands. And the fear that shot through me wasn't just that he was there in the middle of the night. It was that I thought I knew why. When I married David, Liam was 16, a closed door of a boy, all shrugs and mumbled answers, headphones permanently attached. I tried. I really did. I learned his favorite foods, asked about his classes, respected the silence when he clearly didn't want to talk. Our house was beautiful, but it was David's house, Liam's house. I was the new piece that didn't quite fit. David was a wonderful man, solid, kind, but he worked long hours, traveled for business. He saw a wife and a son, living under one roof, and assumed it was a home. He didn't feel the currents of silence that flowed through the hallways when he was gone. He didn't notice the way Liam and I orbited each other like two strangers stuck in the same elevator, polite, distant, and hyper-aware of the other's presence. I loved my husband, but sometimes, in the quiet of that big house, a deep loneliness would set in, a feeling that I was an actress playing a part, and I hadn't quite learned my lines. I just wanted us to be a family. I wanted Liam to see me as more than just the woman who slept in his father's bed. I thought if I could just break through that wall, everything would finally feel real. I had no idea what was waiting on the other side of it. The shift happened on a Tuesday. I remember the sticky summer air and the sound of the lawnmower outside. Liam had just gotten his first paycheck from his summer job. He found me in the kitchen, wiping down the counters. He seemed nervous, shifting his weight from one foot to the other. "Hey," he said. I got you something." He held out a little velvet box. Inside was a silver necklace. It was delicate, with a single small pearl. I had pointed one out just like it, months ago, while window shopping with a friend. I'd mentioned it once, in passing, at dinner. I didn't even think he'd been listening. I was floored. "Liam, you didn't have to do this." "I wanted to," he said. His eyes met mine, and they held on for a second too long. There was an intensity there I had never seen before. It wasn't the look of a boy giving his stepmom a gift. It was something else, something older. I put it on, my fingers fumbling with the clasp. He stepped closer to help, his fingers brushing the back of my neck. A jolt, like static electricity, shot down my spine. When David got home, he was ecstatic. "See? I told you he was coming around. That's my boy." He beamed, oblivious, and his happiness made me feel like a liar. I wore the necklace, but it felt heavy. It felt like a secret. After the necklace, things began to change in small, almost unnoticeable ways. He started waking up before me. I'd come downstairs to find a mug of coffee on the counter, made exactly how I like it. No one else ever remembered the half spoon of sugar. He'd talk to me, really talk. Not about school, but about his life, his friends, his worries about the future. He'd sit at the kitchen island while I cooked, his voice low, sharing things I knew he never told his dad. I felt myself relaxing. I told myself this was it. This was the connection I'd been hoping for. But then there were other things. The way his hand would brush mine when we reached for the same dish. The way I'd look up from a book and find him watching me from across the living room, quickly looking away when I caught him. One night, David was working late. I was walking down the upstairs hall and Liam was coming out of his room. We nearly collided. We both jumped back, laughing nervously. "Sorry," he mumbled, but he didn't move. He just stood there, his eyes scanning my face in the dim light. My heart started beating faster. It felt like the hallway was shrinking around us. I was the one who broke the silence. "Well, good night." I practically fled into my bedroom, my hand shaking as I closed the door. I started feeling hunted. And I hated myself for it, because another part of me, a part I refused to name, was flattered. The house no longer felt empty, it felt charged. I was constantly aware of where he was, of his footsteps in the hall, of the sound of his door opening. I felt a creeping dread. David was going away for a 3-day conference. The thought of being alone in the house with Liam filled me with a quiet, sickening panic. The first night David was gone, a thunderstorm rolled in. The sky turned a bruised purple, and the rain came down in sheets. We were eating leftovers in a tense silence when the lights flickered twice, then died. The house went completely black. "Stay here," Liam said, his voice calm in the dark. "I'll get some candles." He came back a few minutes later, his face illuminated by the soft glow of 3 small candles. He placed them on the kitchen table between us. The world shrank to just the 2 of us, surrounded by flickering shadows. The storm raged outside, but inside, it was eerily quiet. He started talking again, about how he felt lost, how he wasn't sure what he wanted to do after graduation. I listened, giving him the advice I thought a mother should. But the whole time, I was intensely aware of his eyes on me, of the space between us. Then he stopped talking. He just looked at me, a strange, sad expression on his face. "You're the only one who really sees me," he said, his voice barely a whisper. And then he reached across the table. He didn't grab my hand, he just covered it with his. His skin was warm. His thumb began to stroke the back of my hand, slow and deliberate. The sound of the rain, the pounding in my ears, the heat from his touch, it was all consuming. This was it. The moment where ambiguity vanished, and I didn't pull my hand away. It was only for a few seconds, but it felt like an eternity. I finally snatched my hand back as if I'd been burned. I'm really tired," I stammered, standing up so quickly my chair scraped against the floor. "I think I'm going to bed." I didn't wait for a reply. I just walked away, my whole body trembling. I locked my bedroom door, something I never did. I lay in the dark for hours, listening to the storm, my mind racing. What had I done? What had I let happen? The next morning, the power was back on. The silence in the house was a physical thing. I could hear him moving around in his room, but he never came downstairs. I made coffee and stood in the kitchen, feeling like a criminal in my own home. When David came back that evening, I had to put on the biggest performance of my life. I hugged him, asked about his trip, smiled. It felt like my face would crack. At dinner, the tension was unbearable. Liam wouldn't look at me. He gave one-word answers to his dad's questions. David, of course, noticed. "Everything okay with you, buddy? You're quiet tonight." "Just tired," Liam mumbled, pushing food around his plate. I felt David's eyes on me, questioning. I just shrugged, trying to look casual. "Long week," I said. The lie tasted like poison. My home, the place that was supposed to be my sanctuary, now felt like a prison. Every corner held a memory of a lingering look, a hushed conversation, a single, devastating touch in the dark. Things were never the same. The easy conversations were gone, replaced by an awkward, heavy silence. We avoided being in the same room alone. The house felt huge and cold again. I saw the hurt in his eyes sometimes when he thought I wasn't looking, and it was a mirror of the guilt in mine. I had wanted a connection, and in my loneliness, I had allowed it to warp into something dangerous. I had failed him. I had failed David. About a month later, Liam made an announcement at dinner. He and a friend from school had found an apartment. He was moving out at the end of the summer. David was surprised, a little hurt. "So soon? I thought you'd stay here through college, save some money." "I just need my own space, Dad," Liam said, and this time he looked right at me. There was no anger in his eyes, just a quiet, sad finality. The relief that washed over me was so powerful, it almost made me sick. He was giving me an escape. He was taking the burden and walking out the door with it. The day he left, I helped him carry the last box to his car. We stood in the driveway, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows. There were 1,000 things to say, apologies and accusations hanging in the air between us, but we said none of them. "Well," he said, shoving his hands in his pockets. "Take care of yourself, Liam," I said, my voice thick. He just nodded, got in his car, and drove away. I watched until the car disappeared around the corner, leaving me alone in the silence. The house is quiet now. It's just David and me. The way I always thought I wanted. The hole Liam left is a scar on our family, one that only I can see. David just thinks his son grew up and moved on. He doesn't know I'm the reason his son is gone. I carry that secret with me into their bed every night. It's a cold space between us that will never go away. A few nights ago, I was cleaning out my jewelry box. My fingers brushed against the delicate silver chain. The necklace. I'd buried it at the bottom, but I hadn't been able to throw it away. I held it in my palm, the little pearl cool against my skin, and a chilling thought surfaced, clear and sharp as glass. The worst part wasn't that he had crossed a line. It was that for one single, terrifying second, I wished he would never go back.